to start, you can come onto your seat and you're just going to take a seat and you're going to be in this Z-sit position. So you're going to start with your right leg in line with the long end of the mat and your left leg in line with the short end of the mat. And if you have a wall behind you and you want to place your left foot flat up against that wall, go ahead. And you're going to bring your right hand to the floor and your left hand to your left hip. So just to start, think about pressing back gently through that back foot, engaging through the back of your left leg, and then pushing down through the outside of that right leg and feeling a stretch through that left inner thigh. And then from here, you're just going to lift that left hip up. Think about opening through the front of the hip and spiraling up and around as you gently press back through that left foot as you twist and rotate. And then release the pressure on that left foot and then try to bring your sitting bones closer to the floor on that left side. And then again, twist and rotate up and around. And if you need to give yourself a little bit more height on that right hand, try to bring that left sitting bone back down to the ground, go for it. And again, pressing down through that right knee towards the floor, twist and rotate. And back down one more time. And then from here, I'm gonna need to move my legs away a little. You're gonna bring your arms back behind you. And then you're gonna bring your left leg externally rotated just like your right. And then you're gonna rotate your right leg in and then open it back out. And left leg's gonna rotate internally and out. Press through the floor with those hands so you're sitting up nice and tall. Internally rotate and open, and then internally rotate and open. Trying to keep your glutes and hips nice and square, heavy on the floor on both sides. So as you internally rotate through that right leg, or left leg rather, your left sitting bone stays connected to the ground. And other side over to the right, rotate in and open. Last time to the left. And then this time you're going to internally rotate that right leg and then resituate yourself so your right leg is back behind you, left leg in front, left arm out to the side. Think about pressing down through and externally rotating that left leg, pressing gently back through that right leg, and then as you press back, start to spiral up and opening that left or right hip rather, as you twist to the left side. And then relax that press as you slide and let your sitting bone come towards the floor, and then up and around again. And release it back down. Good, and then up and around one more time. And then lower it all the way down, and then bring both legs out in front of you. And let your knees be nice and soft. They can be super bent if you need, and then bring your hands behind your head. If this is uncomfortable, you can always plant your feet on the ground, your choice. But keeping your legs nice and still, you're going to twist and rotate up and over towards the left. And then rotate back to the center. Staying on that left side, twist and rotate. Like your spine is some rebar and you're just rotating around. Your shoulders are over your ribs, are over your hips. Once more to the left. And back to the center. And then twist and rotate over to the right. Again, check in on those legs. Your left foot should not be leading and your right foot coming back. That means you're rotating through your hips as well. And center. 3 more. Exhale as you twist. Inhale as you come back. 2. And last one. And then from here, bring your arms out in front of you and then tuck your tailbone under. Find that space through the front of your hips. And then just roll yourself all the way down onto the mat. And then from here, bring your legs in and plant your feet on the floor. Arms can come by your side. You're just gonna lift your toes on that right side and then slide your leg long along the floor. And then externally rotate, that foot will fall out. And then drag the leg in on that external rotation so your knee will be falling out to the side. And then at the top, bring it back to the center. Lift those toes, slide the leg out, feeling heaviness in your hip. Externally rotate from the top of the leg, and then bring your leg back in, keeping that external rotation, and then bring it back to parallel at the top. That left leg stays nice and still as you move through your right. One more time like this. Drag and bring it in. And then from here, pick your leg up and bring it into tabletop, staying on that right side. Extend the legs straight out. Externally rotate and drag it back in. Rotate to parallel. Press the leg out. You can do this with a pointed foot, a flexed foot, neither. Your choice. And back in to parallel. Press out. Left side stays nice and still. Externally rotate and drag it back in. And then to the center and place that leg all the way down. Switching over to the left side. Toes lift, slide that left leg along the floor. Externally rotate from the top of the leg rather than the foot. Hips stay heavy as you drag your left foot in and then rotate it back to parallel. 5 more. Check in with your ribs. Make sure your back ribs are nice and heavy on the mat. If you need, and you're having a really hard time keeping your ribs closed here in the front, you can have a nice little curl up through the upper body where you're drawing your ribs towards your hips. Head is heavy in your hands. Externally rotate, drag it back in, and then pause here. Bring that leg up to tabletop, press it out, externally rotate, and drag it back in, creating that resistance for yourself. Right leg stays nice and still. Externally rotate and bring it back in. Ooh. 2 or 3 more. Trying to get that inner thigh working to not let that leg fall out to the side. Bring it all the way back in and then lower it all the way down. From here, you're going to let your right leg fall out to the side and then resist to bring it back in. And then your left leg is going to fall out to the side. Feet are both planted on the floor. If you'd like, and you have a tight chest and you'd like a little chest opening here, bring your arms to goalpost position. Externally rotate from that hip where it meets the top of your leg and resist back in. Also, as you open, make sure that you're not going so far out to the side that that opposite hip is picking up. One more time to the left. And then bring your right leg into tabletop and let that leg fall open to the right and resist back in. You may find here you need to make your range of motion a little smaller, especially if you're in those goalpost arms and you have lessened base of support. It's not quite so big. 3 more. 2. And last one. Pause here. And then you're just going to internally rotate your leg so your knee will rotate in as your foot comes out. But again, the movement is coming from the top of your leg and then to parallel. And then internally rotate that right leg and parallel. 5 more. Resist back to center. 4. 3. 2. And last one. And then lower that right leg all the way down. Left leg's gonna lift. And then like a book, let it open and fall out to the side. Resist to bring it back in. And open it out to the side. More moving it laterally to the left rather than the external rotation here. Check in on that right leg. Make sure the right leg isn't moving out to the right side as your left leg moves. 3 more. 2. And last one. And then you're going to pause at the top and come into this internal rotation through that left leg. And internally rotate and center. Also just think back now to that right side. If you have greater range of motion on this side, maybe it's a little less. 4 more. 3. 2. And last one. And then leave your left leg where it is. Bring your right leg up to meet it. Glue your legs together, your feet rather. Your heels are going to touch. And you're going to open out, externally rotate through the legs, and then resist to bring it back in. But you're staying in a tabletop here, so your legs are still in that 90-90. Just giving the heels a little squeeze as you open and resist back in. 4 more. 3. 2. And last one. And then you're going to bring your knees together and internally rotate those legs and bring them back to neutral. And internally rotate and back to neutral. 6 more. 5. 4. 3. 2 more. Last one. Keep this internal rotation. Let the legs lower a few inches away from you. That internal rotation may be able to deepen, and then resist as you bring those legs back in. And internally rotate as you lower those legs away and resist to bring them back up. 4 more. 3. Remember, shoulders are heavy. 2. Last one. And then lower your left leg, lower your right leg, and then walk them to be about as wide as your mat. And then you're just going to windshield wiper your legs from one side to the other. Again, enjoying a little internal and external rotation, but now it's a little more freer. Or hopefully it's a little freer. Good, and then bring your legs back to parallel, and then slide your hands behind your head, and then relax your shoulders. Let your back ribs settle, hips are heavy, you're in a nice neutral pelvis here. Take a big inhale, and on your exhale, gently nod your chin, and lift your head, neck, and shoulders up. Your ribs have slid down by your hips, and your head is heavy in your hands. From here, you're just gonna lengthen as you lower back down. So your gaze sort of just stays looking down your nose as you lift, and then again as you lower. 2 more. Moving nice and slow and controlled here. Last one. Stay here. Check in with your head. Has your chin jutted forward, or is it pressing on your chest? Send it back and be heavy in your hands. Bring your right leg to tabletop and your left leg to meet it. Glue your heels together. You're going to open your legs to that diamond externally rotated position, and you're going to extend your legs all the way along and then resist to bring them back in. Trying to keep that head lifted, but if it's too much for you at any time, just lower your head and bring your arms by your side. And press out for 6. 5. Don't worry about going low. Think more about keeping your abdominals working in a nice functional manner where your breath starts before your movement and they're not like aggressively doming and pressing up towards the ceiling. If they are, have your legs come higher and lower your head. Also make sure you're breathing. 2. Last one, bring the legs in. Bring the arms by your side. Lengthen the legs, extend the arms up, and then bring everything back in. Open the legs, extend the arms, and back. 5 more. Not letting the arms go very far back. Just in line with your ears, so your biceps are almost still in your periphery. Keep squeezing the heels together. 4 more. 3, 2. Last one, leave it here with the legs. Bring the hands behind the head, and then lower the legs all the way down as low as you can before you start to lose it, and then plant one leg and then the other. And lower your head all the way down, reach your arms overhead, take a nice stretch. And then you are going to roll over onto your left side. Coming all the way down onto your left side, you're going to use your left bicep as a pillow, and you're going to stack your legs one on top of the other in a nice 90-90 position here. Take your hand onto your hip for a second, or onto your glute, your choice, and just make sure that you have a little bit of space with your hip. So your right hip is not crunched up by your right ribs, almost like you're standing horizontally here in terms of your center. You are going to externally rotate that right leg, your top leg, and then resist it back down. And then you're going to lift it up and resist down. 4 more. 3, 2, and last one. And then from here, you're going to lift it up, keeping it right over that bottom leg, just lifting it to hip height, maybe an inch or two above, but you're not lifting it all the way up and open yet. Just a little lift and resist down. 4 more. 3, 2, and last one. Leave that leg lifted and then press back, open through the front of your hip like you're gonna stamp your foot on the wall behind. If you have one and it touches, cool. Just press a little harder into the wall and then resist as you come off the wall and bring it back in. The wall is not necessary. Just think that little squeeze the back and forward. 5 more. 3. Moving nice and smoothly through the hips, thinking about letting your sitting bone lengthen as you bring that knee forward. You're lengthened through that low back, and then when you bring the leg back behind you, you still keep that length and you are not arching your low back. Last one, and then bring it back forward. From here, extend your leg long, so it's right in line over that top leg. And then from here, you're gonna lengthen that leg straight underneath you. So you're almost like in line, it's in line with you as though you are standing, and then hinge at the hip. You can bring your right hand to your glute. Think about lengthening through that sitting bone, keeping the back the same as you bring that leg forward, and then press it back. You can point your foot, you can flex your foot, you can flex as you come forward, point as you go back, which is what I'll probably end up doing, whatever works for you. But really just hinging at that hip, keeping the upper body nice and stable, which may mean that your range of motion coming forward is a little limited, and that is okay. 2 more. And last one, press back. And from here, you're going to externally rotate and internally rotate and externally rotate and internally rotate. That leg is straight underneath you. Internal and external for 4, 3, 2. Last one, leave it internally rotated. Lower your toe towards the ground and then lift from the heel and then lower down. Keeping that internal rotation, lift and lower. for 5, 4, 3, 2 more. Last one. Keep it internally rotated, and then you're going to do nice circles with that internal rotation. Toe generally is pointing down. 3, 2, last one, and then you're going to reverse it, but before you do, externally rotate. And 5 circles with this external rotation. 4, 3, 2, and last one. Bend that leg all the way in and lower it down on top of your left leg. If you're very close to the wall, scoot away from it just a tiny bit. You're going to bring your right hand behind your head. Left hand is cradling your head as well. If you'd like, you can clasp your hands gently. Press your head back into your hands, and then you're just going to rotate open with that right arm, rotating your chest open. Find a little space between your left ear and shoulder, and then keep reaching those knees forward. And then bring yourself back to that nice side lying position. And then we're going to do 2 more just like this, finding a little bit of opening. Reach forward through that right knee, getting a nice twist. Relax your right shoulder, and then coming back into that side lying position. Last one. And then from here, you're going to open that arm to a single arm cactus position. And then you're just going to bring it back and then open for 4. Legs stay nice and still. 3. Give yourself a little more opening through the chest. 2. And last one. Open up. And then reach your arm up overhead and then bring it all the way back around, and then press yourself up onto your hand, and then bring your top leg long and then your bottom leg more or less right underneath. If you prefer to do this on your forearm, you can go ahead, of course. But you're going to reach long through your right hand and press up through that left hand. Reach your top arm overhead, get a nice side stretch here. And then lowering down, don't let those hips quite come to the floor, and then press up and side bend. And then resist down and up. 3 more. 2. And last one. Hold here. You can bring your left leg underneath you a little bit so that it's pointing straight, or it's going straight down from the hip. Weight into that left hand, lift your right leg up and tap it down. And lift and down for 5. Keep lengthening through that top leg that's reaching. You may almost still get that little bit of a stretch through your torso as you lower your right leg, pressing the floor away with that left arm. 2. And last one. Good. And then come down onto all 4s and round your spine up towards the ceiling. Press the floor away. Let your head drop, and then bring your knees nice and wide and sit your heels back towards your glutes rather, back towards your heels. And then just take a second here to breathe into that right side. And your hips, give them a little rest. Very hip heavy class today. Although now my right hip feels like it's been oiled and I'm no longer the Tin Man. So, switching on to your right side. Come to lay all the way down. Legs are in that 90-90 position. And then from here, find that length through the low back. So just take a second. Send your right hip maybe a little bit underneath you more. Left hip gets lengthened a little. You may have that little space or area where you're not like fully pressing. It's more like your bones are pressing into the floor rather than your whole side collapsed into the ground. Have that length through the top side waist. From here, you're just going to Externally rotate like that little clamshell, and then resist back down. And then open and resist. And back down. 5 more. Your head is in line with your spine, the nice pillow from your bicep or your hand, or both. Two more. And last one. And then lower that leg down, lift the whole leg up, and then resist it down. Here, if you'd like, you can bring that hand to your sitting bone and feeling how your sitting bone is heavy in your hand as you lift and lower. And 4 more. 3. Again, just to hip height or a little higher. 2. Last one. Press that leg back behind you. Find that opening through the front of that hip, and then resist as you come back. And again, press back. You can think about that little extra press and inch at the end to engage that glute a tiny bit more. Or if you've got that wall behind you and it's like perfect distance where you're open through the hip, you get to press into the wall. Cool. Either way, that spinal position is not really changing. You're not rounding your spine as you come forward, but you're also not really arching it at all as you bring it back. 2 more. And last one. Leave that leg long and extend it. I lied. Bring it forward and then extend it from here. So you find the front range of motion. If your leg is bent still a little, that's fine. Sweep it back behind you. And then hinge at the hip and bring it forward. You may also find your range of motion changes the more of these you've done, and sweep it back. And forward. And back. Again, just letting that femur move really smoothly in the hip joint, sort of taking your back out of it and just letting that joint do the work. And all the muscles in your leg, obviously, and your core. 2 more. And last one, next time you bring it back, you're going to leave it there. Internally rotate and externally rotate. And again, this is where your hips are staying stacked. They're not opening. So that rotation is just through the femur. And your leg is right underneath you as though you were standing. 5 more. 4, 3, 2, last one. Leave those toes pointed down. Lower and lift. And lower and lift. For 5. Checking on those hips now. Make sure they haven't rolled forward. 4, 3, 2, and then we're going to do those circles. Last one, keep it lifted. And then you can circle either front or back, doesn't matter. I don't remember what we did on the other side. One direction will be internally rotated, 2. And then the other direction, we'll pause now, externally rotate, and reverse your circle. 5, 4, make sure that hip didn't open. 3, like mine. 2, and last one. Bring those legs stacked one on top of the other. Roll that left hip slightly forward so your knees are nice and stacked. Hands both come behind your head. Make sure your head and ribs are in line with the rest of your spine, and then you're going to rotate open. And then from here, pause when you're rotated open. Take a second to relax those shoulders, both of them, and then rotate back over to the side lying position. And then again, rotate up and open. Reach long through that left elbow, getting a stretch maybe through the armpit, across the chest as well. And exhale. Use your breath to help let you rotate. Last time, and we're going to stay Take a second to just relax into it here. Keep reaching forward with that left knee rather. And then open up through the left arm into that goalpost position, and then just bringing it back forward and let it open. And again, forward and open. 2 more. And last one, hold it here for a moment. And then reach that arm up overhead. And then come all the way back around. And then come up onto your right hand, left leg long, right knee underneath you. Plant that right hand and then reach to the left as you as you lift up. You're really pressing the floor away so you're not sinking down towards the ground, and then let those hips lower almost all the way to the ground. And then press the floor away as you lift up. That right shoulder stays out of your ear because it's pressing down through the floor. Lift and back down. 3 more. Hips stay square to the front. 2. And last one. Pause at the top. Take that nice stretch and then bring your right knee underneath you. Left hand still presses into the floor. And then you're going to lift that left leg up and lower down. Only going as high as you comfortably can. Your gaze can be down at your right hand or straight ahead for 5, 4, 3, 2, and last one. Lower that leg down and then come all the way up. Coming forward into all fours. We're going to stay here for a minute. Actually, you can come onto your forearms and your knees. So your elbows are right underneath your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips, although your hips are nice and in the air here. And you're just going to sit back towards your heels, but your legs are parallel. And you're going to feel a stretch through that upper arm, maybe your upper back, letting your chest sink towards the floor. And then you're going to feel like you're going to pull your elbows back toward your knees as you come forward. And you can do this with your hands, or your arms rather parallel, palms pressing into the floor if that feels good. Or you can have that slight internal rotation and your hands clasped together, or one hand around the other fist. But feel that drag of the armpit, or engagement rather, of the armpit as you drag your elbows toward your knees as you come forward. Finding that nice supported, almost upper plank position, even though your knees are right under your hips to support them. At the moment, you're still basically in a plank. 2 more. And last one. All right, here, keeping the engagement through the upper body, you are going to lift your right leg up, thigh parallel to the floor. Externally rotate it, bring it up towards your upper arm, and then internally rotate it to lower it down. Lift it up, externally rotate, foot comes in, knee towards your elbow, and then lower all the way back down. 3 more in this direction. If you need to bring your arms a little wider to give you a little wider base of support, go ahead and do that, but still keeping that engagement through the armpits. Open it out and back down. 2 more. Last one. Open it out all the way in and down, switching sides. Left leg lifts. Open it out, externally rotate. Send that knee towards your upper arm, lower it down, and lift. And externally rotate as you bring it forward and down. 5 more. 3, 2, and last one. And then lower that knee all the way down. One more time, let your weight come back towards your heels, and then find that engagement as you come forward. Staying on your forearms, extend your right leg back, left leg back to meet it. So you're coming into a nice forearm plank here. If you need, have your hips lifted, but your knees and lower leg on the ground. Toes are tucked. You're gonna send your weight forward, and then you're gonna feel that drag back as you come back to your neutral position. Press weight into the toes forward, and then again, feel that connection through the armpits as you come back. 4 more. 3, 2, last one, and then lower your knees, untuck the toes, and lower everything all the way down towards the floor. Give your hips a little shake here for a second. And then bring your forearms back to the ground like a sphinx though, this time. And then from here, feel that pull back through the elbow, and then like you're gonna place your lower belly on the ground, and then lengthen through the front of the chest, but press the floor away. Shoulder blades are gently drawn in toward your spine, and then find a little length through the tailbone. So tuck the tailbone gently. From here, you're just gonna hold for a moment, and then bend that right leg in. Think about a nice stretch through the front of that hip, squeeze through the hamstring, and then lengthen it. Over to the other side. Little squeeze in the back of the leg as you lengthen the front, and lengthen. Over to the right. And if this is too much through your upper body, you can always just lower it. But we're never in a nice extension for an extended period of time, really. So stay here if it's comfortable. Again, keep thinking of the tuck of that tailbone and the length of the front of that chest. 2 more to each side. And last one. Or sorry, 1 more to each side now. Can't count today. Last one this time. And then lower your chest, bring your hands by your shoulders, tuck the toes. Take a big inhale. Find a little tuck under in the pelvis. Find the elbows draw in towards your upper back. And then on your inhale, you're gonna take an inhale, and on your exhale, you're gonna feel like you're pressing the floor away, and that's what's gonna lift you up. Inhale, exhale. Obviously, you can leave your knees down if you need. And then lift your hips up into a downward dog. And then you're gonna bring your knees just down to the ground underneath your hips, and walk your hands ever so slightly forward of your shoulders. And then you're gonna bend your elbows down towards the ground. From here, press your hands into the floor, and you're gonna lengthen your arms up. And then send your elbows back, bend at the elbow, lower down, press into your hands as you lift. And then try to walk your hands back a tiny bit closer to you so that they're almost under your shoulders. And then same thing, chest towards the floor, press the floor away as you lift for 8, 7. And as you lower, you can think about externally rotating that arm. 4, 3, 2. Trying not to let the weight go back too much towards your hips. 2. Last one. From here, press into your hands. Shift your weight forward. You can either be on your knees or your toes. Find yourself in a nice plank here. Tuck that tailbone under. Find that gentle connection between the inner thighs, and then lengthen through the front of the chest. Elbows back towards your hips as you lower, and then press as you lift for 7, 6, 5. Your whole hand is pressing back. 4, crown of the head is nice and long. Gentle tuck of the tailbone. 3, 2, and last one. Lift the hips up towards the ceiling. Bend the knees and send the chest towards your thighs. And then you're gonna come into a tall kneeling position and bring your right knee forward. Tuck your mat under if you need a little extra support on your left knee. And then your feet don't need to be your legs don't need to be super close together. They can be a little bit wider. Hands come back behind your head. Thinking about being nice and upright, tuck the tailbone under, lengthen through that left leg. And then you're just gonna twist over to the right side, and then come back to the center, and again up and over to the right. Wringing out your spine, 3, 2, last one, and then slowly release back to the center. Hands come down onto the floor, and then tuck your toe under rather. Get that nice stretch through your left hip flexor. Take a few breaths. Keep thinking about lengthening through the front of the chest, even though the chest is down. Plant your left hand, bring your hand behind your head on the right side, and then twist and rotate up. And then bring that hand down, and then walk your left foot over to your left hand, and then find yourself in a little pigeon here. Lengthen through the chest. You can come onto your forearms if you'd like. Your hips are square towards the floor. It doesn't matter if your right foot is back by your left thigh. Just think length and square hips. And then we will switch to the other side. Press the weight into your right hands. Tuck your left toes under. Bring that right foot back to a down dog. Again, bend your knees, send your hips or chest towards your thighs. And this time, bring your left leg forward, plant your right leg down, and lift up. Tuck that hip under on the right side. Hands behind your head. You're gonna rotate over towards the left. And back to the center. And twist. And center. 3 or 4 more, depending on your pace. If you also want to just twist and hold, because that's a nice stretch, you can do that. One more this time. You're going to hold regardless. One more breath in. And then on your breath out, come back to the center. Bring your hands down, framing your left foot. Tuck your right toes under, and then think about opening up to the back of the leg to get that stretch through the right hip flexor. And then think about lengthening your chest. 1 or 2 breaths here. Left hand behind your head, press into the right hand and twist. And then bring your left hand down again. Walk your left foot towards your right hand, and then lower that right leg. Again, your knee and foot don't need to be in line, but your hips need to be square. And then find that length through the torso. Again, you can come down onto your forearms if that feels good. Tuck your right toes under, press into your hands, bring your foot back to meet your right foot, and then bring your heels together. Last time, externally rotate those legs as you slide your hips back toward your heels and melt yourself all the way down towards the ground. Stay here for a second, take a nice big inhale. Send the breath all the way in towards your hips. You can relax your arms if it feels comfortable, or bring them back by your sides. And then slowly, slowly roll yourself all the way up. You can come to sit on top of your feet. And then just stay rounded forward. And then find that length through the sitting bones to start. Length through the low back, and then plant your ribs right on top of your hips, your shoulders, and then your head, and you are all finished. Thanks.